What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday playoff edition of Morning Cup of Hockey. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus. Wipe that smirk off of your face. I hate whatever's going on right now with Colby, but his Wi-Fi already crashed to start the episode, so that's a good sign for what's to come. Oh my God, we got Carter Hutton coming on here in any minute to talk about the Leafs game last night. They hang on to one to take a 2-0 series lead. Max Domi, the overtime hero. I thought the Carolina Hurricanes stole one at home, which is a very rare sentence to say. They never usually do that, but Freddie Anderson stood in his head. Timo Meier couldn't put a puck in the empty net, and the Devils now trail 2-0 in that series. I fell asleep after the second period in Vegas, so I can't say I made it through the entire night, but what I saw in those first two periods, Minnesota, man, hell of an effort. We'll get into that a little bit later on after Carter Hutton. And then what am I missing? What other game was there? There's one more game. Why am I missing it? What game? Tampa, Florida. Oh my God, the Florida Panthers. What a performance in game one. Totally come out and dominate. We have one clip that we're going to show where you're going to look at it and be like, oh my God, this Panthers team is just, how do we sleep on them? So I've said a lot. Colby, you start now because I'm running out of things to say. How's your morning?
I'm not feeling so good or as good about my Tampa in the Cup Finals pick. I could start with that after last night, but I also, again, I'm not. Maybe we underestimated how Matthew Tkachuk would be after 2.5 months off.
Yeah,
I mean that had shades of Nikita Kucherov missing, and I know Kucherov missed the whole year with the hip surgery, and then he came back in game one and he just looked so much fresher than everybody else. We'll definitely get into that game a little bit later. I'm glad that we obviously will talk about Lou Lamoriello. I don't know if you said that. I got frozen up here right as we came into the show, so I might have missed a couple of seconds of what you said, but we will get into that at some point in the show. But we do have Carter Hutton here, and it's kind of perfect because, I had some strong opinions about the play of Anthony Stolarz in game one. And I want to give Carter a chance to tell me why, he thinks I'm wrong. And if he does say you're out of your mind, I'm going to say, okay, you're right, because he's a goalie. And he knows the position better. I was quick before I'll give it back to you, Johnny, to bring Carter in. But I was quick last night, halfway through that game, to take the video that Vic posted of me being harsh, being critical of Stolarz and saying I thought he only had a B- effort in game one. Mm-hmm. I was quick to repost that video and say he's making me eat my words in game two.
I didn't see you do that
because he looked, to me, to my eyes, he looked way more confident in goal last night. His rebounds were better. Look, Toronto was terrible for half that game or more last night, and he's the difference. So I was quick to call myself out on that last night, but I'll let you bring Carter in here and let's talk about the goaltending matchup in this, Battle for Ontario, because I do have more questions about it than you would normally have in a round one of a goaltending, in a series where one team's up 2-0.
So let's bring in Carter Hutton. But before we do, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And with that, Carter, did you hear what Colby just had to say? And if so, what are your thoughts? But good morning, by the way. Good to see you.
Good morning, boy. What is your hat first, Coach?
It's New Jersey Titans, not Trenton Titans. Well,
because we just played Regina Titans, my little guy. We do a spring tournament, and they absolutely whacked us.
It is definitely not
us so bad, man. They play so much. They're playing. Our boys were just chasing the puck, and they're playing body position. At one point, they're 7 and 8 year olds. They dumped it in and just set up a trap. Our boys were like, what's going on here? So I saw the hat and I was like, is this why they're so good? Maybe Kobe's an investor in the company.
I can tell you this. I will tell you this. I have been to Regina, Saskatchewan. I have been there before. I've been to Moose Jaw and I've been to Regina. That's where our U17 championships were for our birth year. So we took that bus in and they've got that moose on the side of the highway. That's the size of Lucy the elephant. If anybody's ever been
I know Lucy.
to Margate, New Jersey. But no, this is New Jersey Titans. This is not Regina Titans, just for the record. And
I love it.
So Hutz, let's get into this goaltending thing because, people were pretty angry with what I said the other day, and that's totally fair. And I'm always the first one to say, like, I'd rather a goalie expert talk about goaltending. But what I said after game one about Anthony Stolarz was that he made me uncomfortable, even though he got the win, because to me, his rebounds were a mess. He looked unsure of himself early. Okay. And I said, look, nerves are to be expected. He's never started a playoff game, but I didn't get the warm and fuzzy. Last night, he gave me the warm and fuzzy the way he played. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Like, he was great last night, but was my take on game one with the way that he played, am I way off base with that? Because if I am, like, I'm happy to say, yes, I'm wrong here because you know better than I do.
Well, first off, don't do this apology just for Vic. Okay. I know he puts a lot of pressure on you guys being the home.
Vic wants Wall.
He honestly, like, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're far off. I just think was premature to be like, this is going to be the difference maker. Right. And how I say that is this is a first time playoff experience in this magnitude, being the starter, being the guy. And you watch the way he plays last night, even his interaction with Ridley Gregg. This guy plays with a lot of jam. He plays with a lot of energy.
Awesome.
And you'll hear that.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Right. And you'll hear about the players talking about this all the time. They've never played for a goalie that's been as vocal as Anthony Stolarz. They've never played for a guy that is like so loud and so energetic. And I feel like that's how he calms his nerves, right? Is by being energetic. And I was very similar. I had that when it was a big game. Sometimes for me, I would be almost too focused. I'd be like, waiting and trying to be so ready. I always make the joke about Tommy Boy when he's trying to sell and he tries to get the lady to turn the fryer on with the chicken
wings. The scene,
and I want one so bad that it honestly has a negative effect on me, right? And I think sometimes Anthony Stolarz, now all of a sudden he has a big game. It's his first playoff game at home, playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a lot of energy, and I think you could see that visually in his game, right? Rebound control, things that were just pucks that were eliminated last night weren't eliminated in game one. But what I do like is his composure to never chase the game. He's always tracking back to his post. And a great example was there was a play last night. I don't know who the puck kicked out to. Went over to his blocker side, and majority of goalies would have chased on like a parallel line to the goal line. So if you think about where the goal line is, right, and where the net is, most guys, that puck goes and their instant reaction is to chase right away. His instant reaction is to track back to his post. And it's not like it might be less of a chance to make the save, but he's constantly in the right position. He never overplays thing. And that's something I've really noticed with his game. I think Linus Ullmark tries to do that. And I have a lot of analyzing of Linus Ullmark to talk about because where his game is at and what he's doing. But Anthony Stolarz right now, I think, is settled in. That's another game under his belt. He's won 10 straight now, boys. That's a 947 in the last 10 games. That's something not to be messed with, right? I know it's regular season versus playoffs, but when you're in a rhythm and you're flowing, this is really good. And I think last night is a great example of Ottawa hasn't really given up a ton, right? No. Like it's been 45 shots over 2 games, and they have 9 goals against, right? This is worrisome for them.
Game one was the pound.
It was tough. Right? It was tough. Yeah. And I think I like where Anthony Stolarz' game is at. And I think this is the right decision. I think Chief has set this template very well for the Leafs. Right when he came back from injury, right after that Four Nations Cup, he got the big games against Carolina at home. They set the tone, like, you were our guy. And I think right now you're seeing the benefit of that.
Yeah. And there's 2 things that you said, or one thing you said that stood out to me too, that I don't know if I've even heard a goalie say before, but I didn't know goalies can be considered to chase a game, right? Like just technique wise, because you don't really hear that from a goalie. It's just make the next save. Like, how are you chasing a game, right? Like it seems a little bit more complex the way you said it, which is something I've never heard before. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so like think about, Johnny, if like you guys are playing as a positional player, forward or defenseman, and you're having a rough night, right? Or you're not feeling it, you're trying to get in the game, you jump over the boards, the puck's irrelevant to you. You can go out and throw a body check. You can go out and initiate contact and get yourself into the game. Whereas a goalie, like, say you're having a quiet night, but you have this, you want to get yourself in the game. There's really no way for you to control that, right? You can only control what comes at you. So managing that moment and how the game is played is so tricky as a goalie, right? So now it becomes like the mental aspect of the game. And that's where you don't see a lot of guys younger have a lot of success, because they can play really good when they're getting 35 shots and they're busy and in a rhythm. But now how do you become the same guy and close that gap when you get 20 shots?
20,
like Linus Ullmark last night. He wasn't that busy, And there's times where a few goals go in, he's on his knees before the shot's even taken, the backdoor plays, the puck's going around him, where maybe if he's getting 35, 40 shots a night and he's in that rhythm, now there's less thinking going on. There's more flow state. So finding that happy medium of being able to manage the busy game versus the nerve-wracking game without getting that action early is really where you see the separation of, really, really good goalies.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. And I think that, again, I'm glad that you did see a little bit of that in game one. And again, I didn't give him a C grade. I didn't give him a D or an F. The guy gets a win, but I just said, like, there were things that I think if this team wants to continue to get through the playoffs, like, you've got to do a better job, because you see in some of these other games a lot, like last year, I feel like there was a lot more spread out types of goals and highlight reel plays. And we've had some of those too, but it's been a lot of goals on the crease this year in the playoffs. Like, this has looked, and last night maybe was not anywhere near as entertaining as the night before, just in general, but there's a lot of goals that are happening right on top of the paint, rebound goals, greasy goals, like, like very playoff-esque goals. And I just think rebound control, Carter, and the way you're directing your rebounds, which gives your defense an opportunity to, have that extra second to look for a stick or to locate your guy. Like, I just think that that's so important. But my question for you is do you at any point here, like, you're up 2-0, I get it, Stolarz is on a heater right now, but do you have to worry about what you've told us before, when like a guy who's never been a true like starter and had to play every single night in and night out? Like, we even saw this with the Boston rotation a couple of years in the playoffs. Do you worry, like, is he going to be able to keep his focus? Are you worried about his health? We know he's had lower body issues. Like, is there any thought for Toronto right now that it's like, maybe we give Joseph Woll a game and we give Anthony Stolarz a night off, or is that insane?
I think giving Woll a game right now is insane. Like, I don't think that's on the radar, but I think on the radar is like, Woll, you're ready to go, right? Like, again, that's always the standard of the NHL. Anytime you're the backup. I remember one time we were going into game 6 playing against Anaheim, and they came to me being like, hey, like, we're thinking about playing you in game 6. And at the end of the day, they played Pekka Rinne. Like, let's be realistic. What's going to happen, right? And they obviously want to keep you ready to go, right, at all points. But that being said, I think the fact of the matter is you have a guy that doesn't have the big body of work in this moment. So now it's going to come down to the Toronto Maple Leafs is, what does Anthony Stolarz need as an individual, right? Is today a total off day? Of course, in my opinion, right? And then maybe the next day he's getting out early before the practice for 10 minutes with his goalie coach, and they're doing a little bit of structure, where now it's body maintenance and it's energy management, right? When you're in a rhythm, keep the games coming. Just manage what he does off the rink. And I think that's going to be so important. Even if you have, and that's why they have a third goalie. Like, the Leafs actually have a guy on staff who's what is it? MLSE, right? He's an employee of MLS. He was there when I was there, and he just travels around with injured players. They pay him like $80K a year. He's a goalie that played,
what a job.
Pardon?
What a job.
He played in the NCAA, he played a little bit in the coast, and he lives in Toronto, and he just travels around, and that's why they do it. And that is a smart investment in the sense of what you need from their goalies. But that being said, like, hands off right now with Stolarz. Don't even look at him. Just keep it going. Keep the rhythm going. But again, that being said, we're keeping Joseph Woll up to speed because the leash is short with the unknown. He had a knee injury this year. He had a procedure. You never know when this can change really quickly. And the way he got run into the other night, like, it didn't look great in that moment. The only thing I felt positive about that is when he was lying on the ground, you could see him looking up at the ref, where it was like, did we get the call?
By the way, and people in the chat, you're not listening. You're hearing what you want to hear. Nobody is trying to make Anthony Stolarz fail. Anthony Stolarz is a great guy. I know him personally very well from his days in Philly because he would live in the same building as me. And Shane Gostisbehere and him are best buddies from Union. And so nobody's trying to make him fail. Our job is to come on here and talk about things that are relevant topics, and these are relevant topics. So if you expect us to get through a Toronto Maple Leafs playoff run without talking about their goaltending situation, well, like, the wool is over your eyes, because that's been something that is been fair game for a very long time. And like I said, good for him. Again, watching him last night, Hutz, he looked He did not look nervous. He did not look inexperienced in the playoffs. He looked like a guy who was under complete control throughout that hockey game. And in my opinion, wins him the hockey game, in my opinion. Because he faced more grade A's. He faced more high dangers. And everybody's going to tell me, well, his expected goals.
Oh, don't get into this, man.
His expected goals. And even we talked to Brant about expected saves above whatever. And the biggest argument I have back to those stats is that how can you give me that number when it doesn't take into account if the shooter is Nikita Kucherov or the shooter is Adam Gaudette, like, or Nylander or Adam Gaudette? It doesn't have that in those numbers and in those models. And so there's a massive flaw in those types of, so people that just want to regurgitate those types of stats, like, I'm sorry, like I'm not buying it.
I've always been a big believer in you can't judge a game by a box score. And someone told me that when I was younger. And I feel that as I played and I went up in the game, like there was nights where I would get 15 shots and it'd be the hardest game that I played in because of quality of chances, because of breakdowns. And then there was nights where I'd stop 40 of 41 and everyone think I was the best player on the planet that night. But at the end of the day, it's so dependent on what comes at you, right? And I think for Anthony Stolarz, it's time of save, it's momentum, and it's not necessarily how many you make, it's when you make them. You look back in that third period yesterday, Dylan's Cousins has a shot from the ladies.
Yeah, that glove
That's
save.
a big time save. Yeah. That changes the whole series right there if that puck goes in. And then next thing you know, the game gets taken over, the Leafs take it over in overtime and find a way to win.
Well, they found a way to win because Drake Batherson throws a backhanded blind pass to the middle.
Yeah, that was tough. And then Domi beats him right in the high slot when he's back on the back check. That's
and
tough.
How about and how about the first goal? Batherson is completely asleep. He's on Riley as coverage there. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure before the series, people were talking about Batherson as a guy who could be, an X factor.
Well, he's a goal scorer. He's a goal scorer.
Talking about, he's gonna be the guy. He's gonna get to the inside or whatever. But I mean, Batherson, between the flyby and the missed coverage, 2 of the 3 goals fall on your shoulders in a playoff game. I mean, that's the difference between a hole you can't climb out of and feeling like you're alive in a series. And that's what we saw with Batherson last night.
I still think Ottawa feels like they're alive, though. Like,
I don't think they should feel like they're totally out of it. But that being said, it feels like a little bit like Leafs 2.0 here. Like, do you have some younger guys that don't have the experience, and then they're losing on the other side of the puck, where you have guys like the Toronto who are playing a little bit better brand of hockey now with Craig Berube, and they know what it's going to take to win. And for me, that's been a big difference maker. And the goaltending, whether it's good or bad or anything in between, it's always going to be a conversation when you're talking about the NHL playoffs.
Yeah. Well, with that too, we didn't talk about that sequence with Ridley Gregg. And, listen, I'm not going to make this into like some super dramatic thing, but I watched this and I fucking love it. I love it. Like, Colby and I have talked, and Hutz, you've been on here. We've talked about goalie interference nonstop all year long. This is what battling for position should look like. Ridley Gregg should be able to stand in the blue paint, and if he makes contact with Stolarz, the goal should fucking count. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if he barely touches him, like, this is what it should look like. And I think this whole sequence, to me, like, hopefully, because I know if that puck goes by Stolarz and Ridley Gregg's feet are in the blue paint, even if Stolarz is beating the shit out of him, that's probably getting called back. It probably is, and that's the problem with the whole thing. But I watched this and I loved it, and I'm very impressed that Ridley Gregg did not even like really respond to that. That took a lot of balls to not go back and try to shove Stolarz. I mean, do you guys have a thought on that? I don't know what your take on that play was, but I loved it from both sides. I thought Ridley Gregg was what?
Hutz, you ever assault somebody like that in front of the net? I mean, that was all. I loved
that was
it.
bad.
Yeah, I loved it. That's playoffs right there. But
that is, I think, the energy too. And again, you hear Stolarz talking; he's caught up in the moment. It's aggressive, and I don't think you see that all the time. But you're trying to establish your crease and who you are, and like obviously the extra hack is the one that's like over the top. I thought things would have lit up. The pushing is one thing, right? But then the extra hack, I thought for sure was going to. But I love it. Like if you talk about like
the discipline of Ridley Gregg, though, I think is like. You talk about game 1 to game 2.
He thought he was getting his team a power play because, I mean, in what world was that not at least a minor?
I agree with that. That's insane. The 2 pushes I'm fine with. Like, they were heavy, but I get that. But the slash, when he gave him the big hack with the paddle, I can't believe he wasn't going to the box. I credit
offsetting penalties.
What?
Didn't they call him like offsetting minors?
Well, but exactly.
I know, but I can't believe it wasn't over and above. Like the hack was like really Greg really was just kind of holding his ground. Like he didn't really do anything in that sense, right? But I love it from perspective of like on the outside, if I'm on his team, right? Even if he takes a penalty there, you're like fired up to kill that penalty for the goalie. Like he's showing the fans, his team, everybody how committed they are to try to win. And I love it. I think that's playoff hockey. And in the crease, your take on that, I don't necessarily love it because it's like, I think Stolarz, if that play's going on, he's in the crease, he can just engage out with him normally and like establish his ground. If he starts body checking him and hitting him, that's when it's like, if that puck goes in, it should be a goal because like Anthony Stolarz is not worried about playing hockey at that point. He's not trying to play his position.
But that's been the argument. It's like,
I know, I agree. And I'm with you on that sense of like, if that puck flies by while he's worried about cross-checking Ridly Greig, then that's on Anthony Stolarz.
But if his,
again, I think that's that gray area of where.
And remember something: if Stolarz's hands are out of the crease, like it's a lot more fair game. Like if he's leaned over that line and his hands, even if Stolarz's feet are in the crease, if his hands are not in the crease, I got clarification on this from a former National Hockey League ref at the Frozen Four. We talked about that in particular. If your hands are outside the crease, your feet are inside the crease, and your hands are what, where the interference happens, that technically should be like fair game because you're outside of the crease.
Like if you had the aerial view, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So did you ever get after somebody like that in a game, like to that level? Because
not
like
that level, no. I don't know. Like, no, I don't know about that second half. Like definitely engaged in guys. You know what I used to do a lot of too is I would just poke guys in the back of their leg. You never feel it coming, and you have like the awkward little.
That's the
and
worst.
then the other one I used to do in practice all the time was I'd lift guys' sticks because they'd be in net front to tip pucks, and then I would like. Right as the shot was coming, I would quickly lift their stick with my paddle and catch the puck, and guys used to get absolutely rattled. The play that I used most, that I only got called on a couple times, was if I made a save and say I gave up a rebound that was close by, maybe to my left side, and you were on my right, instead of trying to get the puck, I would just take you out.
Swipe.
Yeah. I would just take you out and let you drag me across, and then we would have recovery. And that's a tough interference call for a ref to make. And I like being dirty. That was like the gamesmanship of being a goalie, right? Like, if a guy, if you're the D-man Kobe and you cut real tight to the net on a regroup, I would trim the net, let you go, and then I would put my stick under guys' arms. I would hold my stick under my glove hand, put my butt end under your arm, and try to slow you down. And like things like that, which like just give my teammates and everyone else a little bit of time.
Yeah,
gamesmanship we used to call it. Now let's hack the heck out of it.
I always like going back on a puck, and like if I was cutting the net tight, my whoever the goaltender was, just take that one step to the left or the right and give me that one little half a second and create a little bit of thought process for the forechecker. Even if you don't actually touch them, that just gives you enough time to get the net and wheel through there. Do you think any chance that Stolarz could get fined for that hack today? Like,
no
you think
way.
they would just give him like
I never really thought about that.
A $3,500 fine or whatever. Sometimes you see that happen.
I think it gets looked at. I think that is literally as a goalie too. No one's allowed to hack the goalie either, that's where I always find that gray area where I used to struggle with. I don't know if that's the right term, gray area, but where it's a double standard. Where like if Ridly Greig was to hack Anthony Stolarz like that, it'd be the end of the world.
Yeah.
Right. It'd be. And I also think that like if Jordan Binnington behaved that way in game 1 or 2 against Winnipeg, it'd be like, should we suspend Jordan Binnington because he has a history of it? So
but you have a hit, but that's the same with players.
It's the same. But I also think like if you can't give it out, then why should you be able to like if you can't take it, right? Like that's where I always struggle with goalies that are interactive. Like I get it. You need to show your energy. You need to establish your crease. But Ridly Greig really wasn't doing anything. Where I think there should have been a penalty. A power play for Ottawa in that sense.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more thing, Johnny, unless you have anything else. I really just wanted to touch on Linus Ullmark quickly because obviously a guy you know very well. What is your confidence level that he can go steal a game? Because I think that's probably what's going to have to happen because even when the Leafs didn't bring an A game, which they didn't last night. Their forecheck was non-existent a lot of the game. OEL had a couple of turnovers. Like they just looked a little less solid than they did in game 1. I think that's a fair statement, but they found a way to win and their big players made big plays. And then they get that contribution from Domi in overtime. But are you confident that Ullmark can drag Ottawa back into this series? Because the rest of Ottawa still looks like they're trying to really, really find what playoff hockey needs to look like throughout their lineup.
Yeah, I'm not saying like he's a talented enough goalie for sure, without a doubt. My worry is when he sees games like that where he's not that busy and he's not in a flow and he's not tracking the puck as well. Where if I look at those goals, the Morgan Riley one, right, he's down. Nylander gets the puck on the half wall, right at the hash marks. And as he makes a turn, Linus Ullmark is already down in an RVH position when the puck is at a distance where like that's a routine save. Like he should be on his feet. That puck goes back door. If he holds his feet there and moves, it's an easy save. And even the overtime winner, that puck track, I just don't see him competing to find pucks right now. I feel him being very like stagnant on his feet. And what I mean by that is when we look at some goalies and we get on our inside edges too much, it's advantage shooter, right? Because the angles and the puck changes so fast where right now I feel like he's second guessing himself. And I think what he needs is to find some flow and some rhythm where you're just reacting and playing. And I don't know if this is the magnitude of the moment right now for him. Yes, he's played in the playoffs, but he's never been the guy, right? This is a lot of pressure on him. You're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's in the Battle of Ontario, and he doesn't have a great history, right? He played in Rochester. He had a tough playoffs when he was there. He's had tough goes when he's been in with the Bruins. So for me, I just get a little bit worried about the past, but I also think he's fully capable of it. Right now, I just feel no flow in his game, if that makes sense. He's just flat on his edges, and it's killing him.
I thought the OT winner, I mean, that the post and in, like it looked like, I guess to what you're saying.
It's a good shot though.
He didn't fight to see the puck. Like, I guess that's what
but every shot is a post and in at the end of the day. Like you don't know how many saves that goalies make during a game that would have went post in. That's part of the gig. Guys don't miss shots in the NHL.
I just think
he's the flash screen, but I just think he's lazy right now competing to find pucks. And even during in zone play, he's on his goal line, which is how he's effective. But I think right now he's just too locked in on his edges, and it's really hard to react as guys are creative and the patience is wearing off a bit in his game.
Well, there's also just such a directness to the way Toronto's playing. I mean, even go back to game one, they get a couple of power play goals right off of faceoffs. In game two, the power play goal that Tavares scores, that's off of, they win a faceoff. They get to their set. Like, it's very direct the way Toronto is playing. And I think in years past, we've been so critical of Toronto because it's been the opposite of direct. They've had these games where everything is east-west and, everything is played around the perimeter, but it's just not how they've played. Even last night when they weren't forechecking well, there was still a directness to the way that they played offensively. Like, they're funneling more pucks in between the hash marks. They're making it more difficult. I just haven't seen them trying to force those seam plays. So when you have the players that they have, and you have, John Tavares, who in a contract a year looks like he's 25 years old again, and good for him because, I can't say enough good things about him as a human being and as a leader. So when a team with that much skills plays that direct, they're going to be hard to beat. Like they are. Doesn't matter who they play. They're going to be difficult to beat.
Ottawa's going to be tough to beat in their own building in game 3.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's not. This series is far from over. Yeah. But I also think this was part of the process, right? They're just not like, I think in years past, they try to click a switch when they get to playoffs. Like, we got to play playoff hockey right now.
Right.
I think this coaching staff and this team, this has been groundwork all year, right? And I think when we look at games, when they lose, it's boring. And we're like, hey, we wanted more out of that. But then the other side of it is like, we don't want to win those 6-5 games. This is the playoff we need. And now they have a template, and I think it's ready. And now you have guys that are on the same page because they've seen the patterns and it's where they're at. And that's what I love about this team. And I think Craig Berube has been a big reason for that.
Well, and the last thing I'll say, which I thought was pretty funny, 2 things actually. So I do remember earlier this year, them catching Craig Berube on the bench, kind of getting into it with some of the core 4, like Matthews and Nylander and Marner, telling them be more direct. Like I can remember at some point this year, like you could see Chiefs saying that to them. Well, boy, did they get the message. And then the other thing I thought was really funny, I don't know if you guys saw this on
the coach's celebration,
is when Berube told Mark Savard, like, don't celebrate when we score. Like he looked at him like, what are you doing? Like,
like act like you've been here before, buddy. Act like you've been here.
That was really funny. I got a pretty good kick out of that. And then they showed the next time they scored, Savvy was like,
he's like trying to hold it in, eh?
He was trying to hold it in. Yeah, I thought that was this video. Look at Jeep, like, oh, that's too good. I love that. That's good stuff right there. And you know, Mark Savard, that guy played with a hell of a lot of you know, passion and loved scoring goals as much as anybody. So that I thought that was pretty funny.
I played for Chief, and he's a funny guy, right? So he's probably like, he's pumped just as much as Savard is. He's just probably giving him a hard time joking. Yeah. The other guy is Lane Lambert. I played for Lane Lambert in Nashville. When we're on the penalty kill, it was like he was out there trying to block shots. He'd be like moving and playing and doing, and man, he's a passionate. And that's the thing that I find even on the other side of it is like, what people don't understand at times, if you never played, it's easier to play. It's easier to have control. It's easier to put your stamp on the game. I remember times playing in the playoffs. I remember my first NHL playoff game, like I was with the Hawks for a while, but I was the third goalie. So I'd watch from the press box. I was removed. With San Jose, I had a run too. But then my first one sitting on the bench was in Nashville. I was so exhausted after the game, I didn't even play. I was like, holy, how am I going to do this? I didn't even, meanwhile, these guys are dead because they just gave everything they have. I'm exhausted just from the emotions of being tied to the game. So imagine how you feel as a coach. This is your livelihood. So it's wild.
This is my first year being consistently behind a bench as a coach at the junior level, Huts. And there was nothing like coming back from a couple of goals down, getting that late. I mean, we scored a lot of we scored a lot of 6-on-5 goals this year. Like our 6-on-5 for whatever reason was automatic almost, and there was nothing like standing on the bench just like squeezing your fist while you're watching your team go 6-on-5, like hoping nothing goes wrong as a coach. And then at the end, you're right, as a coach, like you're exhausted because you're so wound up, but you don't actually get to like go out and hit somebody or
exactly.
So I totally agree with that, Johnny. I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
I've never coached, so I can't really speak to the feeling, but it's, you know what, it's awesome. I'm really excited for that game 3 tomorrow night. I think Ottawa is certainly not out of this thing. I know that's not what Zach Phillips and Leafs fans want to hear. They're already celebrating the sweep after last night. I tuned into Leafs After Dark, and I see all these F the Sens, all this things going on. But
I think the Sens are out of it, by the way. I'm not subscribing to what you guys think, where this is still a series. I have a hard time seeing this series get past 5 games. I would be shocked if this thing goes past 5 games. Like, but I'm sure there'll be some pushback, but there was pushback last night, but who won?
Yeah.
Like the Leafs still find a way to win. Right. So, you know,
he's so happy behind the scenes.
Yeah. Right? And so is Zach and, you know, now the Sens fans are popping in the chat. So, Huts, we're grateful for your goalie expertise in particular. You know, you're always coming on when we ask, so we're grateful for that. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again in the playoffs.
Sounds good, boys. Goaltending's always a story. It should be called. Didn't Jack Parker say that before? It shouldn't be called hockey. It should be called goaltending.
He did. Yep. He did. He always says that. Yep. That's before you said no to BU and you went to UMass Lowell.
Yeah, well, I didn't really have much options, but
love you, pal.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
Okay, see you guys.
All right, Colby, we just spent 30 minutes talking about one series. We got to, you know, spread the love around a little bit, but I want to get into our Ninja Crispy hot take and talk about the late night game last night. So, time now for the Crispy hot take presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind. The Ninja Crispy Portable Cooking System. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand. So you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes. In the 6-cup container, max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And we're going to talk about the Minnesota Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights game 2 last night. That first period was a complete shock for me. But here's the Ninja Crispy hot take, and I don't even know if it's that hot because he should have been MVP. But is Kirill Kaprizov the most important player to their respective team in the NHL? Because when Kirill Kaprizov is in the Minnesota Wild lineup, they look completely different than when he is out. And his game last night, the pass he made to Matt Boldy, this guy is unbelievable. 5 points in 2 games and is single-handedly keeping Minnesota in this series as it's now 1-1 heading back to the state of hockey. What do you make of that comment?
I mean, I don't think that's so much of a hot take because, you look at the other
team.
McDavid
and with,
But I agree. You could take McDavid, but then there's still a Draisaitl. You know what I mean? You could take Kucherov, but then there's still Point or Hedman. Like, I just think that there's such a big drop off. Like, and that's no disrespect because I think Boldy's been, this looks like Boldy to me looks like a guy who took a lot from the intensity of the Four Nations and has brought it to the NHL playoffs.
That's the best pass.
That's a great pass. So Shea Theodore, by the way, Shea Theodore had a tough night. He had it like when Shea Theodore fights the puck like he did. I mean, that is not normal because the puck is usually on a string for Shea Theodore. I mean, he had 2 turnovers that lead directly to goals amongst some other issues, but I don't think that that's a hot take. Like, I think you can make that argument just from a skill level of what he's able to do and create offensively, but it would be an argument. Like, you are going to get pushback. Like you said, there's McDavid, there's other players like that. In the chat, you're already getting some pushback from people saying
it's so hard to come up with a hot take every day.
that Ryan Hartman is the most valuable player for the Wild.
Ryan Hartman's been pissing the fuck off.
J-Rock said that as a hot take. Sorry, I missed the I can see Johnny coaching District 5 in Minneapolis. Do you know what that means?
I coach him to a state championship.
Okay, so you do know that movie. Yeah. Okay, I mean, you didn't know the Lethal Weapon.
I've never seen it.
You didn't know the Lethal Weapon reference that Brant dropped us in a text message last night. I don't think he thought I was going to know that one either, but I did know that one. Lethal Weapon, that one's a classic. So, look, I think it's an argument worth having, worth putting out there. And I think Kaprizov, their whole team changed the minute he gets back.
That's what I'm saying.
There's no doubt, right? Like, but you also look at how good Florida was last night when Matthew Tkachuk came back after, since February. Like, what a difference that guy is just stepping back into the lineup. So, all right, let's start buzzing through these series, Johnny.
That's it. That's all we're gonna do on Minnesota and Vegas.
No. We'll still talk about that game, but that was the late game, right?
Yeah.
And so let's start with the early game in New Jersey, Carolina, because this was kind of a strange game.
I thought the Devils were the better team.
Yeah, like I thought the Devils came out and especially in the first period, they finally got their forecheck going. They finally were possessing the puck. Like in game 1, it was one and done, right? They never really had those second and third opportunities where they were recovering pucks below the goal line, getting to the back of the net. It just wasn't there. But similar to Ottawa last night, Carolina still finds a way to win.
Yeah.
And Freddie Anderson is the story in that hockey game. And look,
I agree.
Markstrom played really well. I mean, that shorty by Martinook was
my God.
Snipe.
That's like that was a definition of a snipe. Yeah.
I mean, you know me, I usually pick on the goaltenders for shots from the outside where they get a chance to see it. But I mean, that was shot. Just that was one of those where you just tip your cap to them and you just say that was an incredible shot.
But there's a couple chances late that the Devils have. They have some pushback. They generated chances with like 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes left in the third. Timo Meier gets that one late, the wide open net, and the puck like bounces over his stick. Freddie Anderson made 2 or 3 game-saving stops. And the Devils, their power play, that's the difference, right? Like they don't score in the power play. That they let up that shorthanded goal to Martinook. If the Devils see, this is where the Hurricanes are beatable. It's special teams. But if your special teams can't score, that's going to do
Well, they do have the #1 penalty kill in the national.
But I'm saying, like in years past, Carolina hasn't really been able to score in the power play, and other teams that had good power plays were able to find 1 or 2 because you're not going to win the 5-on-5 battle against the Canes. Like that's usually just not the case. And the Devils last night, for the first time, I said it last night. I was like, I can't remember the last time I saw Carolina get outplayed at 5-on-5 in their own building. Like that doesn't really happen ever.
They got outskated, but
yeah, that doesn't happen ever. It doesn't happen.
I'll go back to it. They won. And in the playoffs, way more than in the regular season. It's just about the result, right? Like you're going to pick things that you want to win or you want to, you want to fix and you want to, improve on. But at the end of the day, it's all about the result. And Shane Gostisbehere made an incredible play on that first goal.
Well, a good give and go by Jackson Blake too. Jackson Blake, that little one touch.
But just you keep this puck alive. And then the thing with Gostisbehere that has always been amazing to me about his game is like when he's moving laterally or he's getting on his edges and spinning like he did, he accelerates through that. A lot of players get slowed down by lateral movement or getting on the outsides of your edges to make a spin play like that. Not him. He accelerates through those plays, Gostisbehere. And, not a lot of guys can do that at the rate that he does them with the skill that he does it. I mean, I think Shane Gostisbehere offensively, top 10 offensively gifted defenseman in the National Hockey League. And I would argue that all day long.
And also, like, I want to go on the other side and give a lot of love to friend of the show, Brett Pesce. Thought he had a hell of a game.
He was a warrior.
He stopped the goal too. I mean, that guy is nails. That's just the.
He's everything you want in a defenseman, in a top pair defenseman. That guy does everything for you, and he can hammer it too. He can hammer the puck.
But let me ask you this question now. Like, you're the Devils. You're down 0-2, going back home. You just played a great game on the road. You got to feel a little deflated, right? Like that's
of course.
So I'm saying, no, like, I'm not saying they're totally cooked, but I don't see how you find any confidence right now being down 0-2 against this Carolina team. And I know they're not as good on the road as they are at home, but that's got to be a dagger for the Devils.
Listen, you got to be, coming back from 0-2, look at the percentages on that. I mean, it doesn't happen that often. Obviously, we saw it happen last year with Dallas, but
NYR for Life has the same comment. Just about
people that are didn't Colby. New York Marine is asking in the chat if did Colby talk a lot of shit?
You're doing what I did yesterday. You're saying you yelled at me about this yesterday.
Really? I'm not reading this out loud.
Well,
I didn't just say who it was. No, I don't believe I talked a lot of shit about the defensive acquisitions. I don't. You're gonna have to go back to the tape on that one.
I think you talked shit about Detroit.
When I think about the back end and I think about the depth of their back end, where's the hole?
I said the Devils' back end was better than Carolina, and you said I was wrong. So if anything, it was the opposite.
Where you've got the best defender in the National Hockey League, okay. I've never said a bad word about Shane Gostisbehere, even when he was in Philly and I was defending him. Orlov, Sean Walker has had this, he's been born again in the last couple of years, the way he's played. Chatfield, you just know what you're getting in sort of a bottom pair defenseman. I don't have any issues there. And then you have Brett Burns. I mean, I don't remember saying that, New York.
I don't think you did. I don't think you did.
I mean, look, it never helps when you lose Brett Pesce and you lose Brady Shea. I mean, that obviously doesn't make you a necessarily better team, but let's see if they have better results with this decor than they've had previously. Like, they still need to win this round and win more rounds for us to say, this has worked really, really well. But I don't have an issue with the back end.
He said, damn, I'm taking the L.
Okay, that's fair. I take a lot of L's from you, New York Marine. So we can trade them at a time. But I just overall, Johnny, and then I think we should talk about Lou Lamoriello before we go to the next go to the next series. I was nowhere near as entertained from the NHL games last night. They just were, to me, they were just nowhere near as good.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the first period of Tampa, Florida was great. But nothing like the night before. I mean, the night before was like as perfect as playoff hockey gets.
How about this? 86.3% of teams that have a 2-0 lead have won their series in the playoffs. I mean, like, it's hard to look at a team down 0-2 when 86% of the teams in the history have won those series and say they're still really in the series. Well, it's not over. But
I'm saying, like, as far as the Devils, Canes, Leafs, Sens, St. Louis, Winnipeg, those 2-0 series right now, I think those are the three that are all 2-0. Like, I think the Sens and the Blues can actually make it a series. I don't see how the Devils do it.
But what constitutes for you making it a series? getting it to 2-1 and then losing the series 4-1, 4-2? Like what does that mean to you? Because I don't like, I need a little more detail.
Being down 3-1 and still feeling like they can actually make a comeback.
Being down 3-1 and feeling they can make a comeback.
Yeah. Because 3-1 comeback series I've seen, those aren't like so beyond uncommon.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone says you're not in trouble till you lose at home. So like that's why the Devils are going home down 0-2, the Blues are going home down 0-2, and the Sens are going home down 0-2.
I don't think any of those teams are like I'd be really willing to bet anything that neither of the teams down 0-2 right now are winning their playoff series. And I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, Phila Originals made a better point. Johnny means being down 2-0 and pushing a series to 6 games. That's a better way to put it.
Gotcha. Okay, so getting it to like a 4-2 series.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if I don't see any of the teams down 0-2. Like, let's see. I don't think St. Louis is going to win 2 games. I think that series is going to end in 5.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I just like nothing that Winnipeg has done makes me think that anybody's really getting in their way.
Well, Portuguese Walrus says Jets are a heli meltdown away from collapsing.
I mean, isn't any team a goaltender meltdown away from a collapse? I mean,
well, I think that's what we've been saying is that the Blues and Jets have kind of been toe to toe. Hellebuck was the difference.
Oh, here you go. Ready? Teams that are up 3-1, 90.8%. So it's even worse than down 0-2, Johnny. So like, you're the statistics here.
Well, yeah. I said that.
Side.
But who said it? Phila Originals said it better than how I said it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
making it a 6-game series being down 0-2.
So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it. So all right, let's hit Lou Lamoriello here. And just look, I don't think there's that much to say here, to be honest. Here's my guess. My guess is that Lou Lamoriello sat down with ownership at the end of the season and they were not on the same page. I don't think this was a premeditated decision by ownership. Like, I'm completely speculating here. I don't think they went into their meeting with Lou with the objective of letting him go or not renewing his contract. I think they wanted to hear what he thought, how he thought he could fix the team, what he thought it would take. And I think ownership probably walked away from that and said, we are not on the same page with your plan moving forward. It's time to inject some new life into this organization. And that's why the news came out yesterday about them not renewing his contract. That's just purely what how I think it went down. And Johnny, I think it's the right move. Like, I do not think
said that since we started this show.
And I got to be honest, like, I'm not dancing on anybody's grave. Lou Lamoriello's contributions to hockey have been, I mean, the guy is a Hall of Famer. Like, it's not even questionable, the guy, about him, right? Like, his contributions have been incredible, but it's just time. Let him go be an advisor now for somebody. But there's just no reason for him to be running an organization at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And I just saw this tweet from a friend of the show, Arthur Staple. And this is, nothing necessarily to do with Lou, but just the changes the Islanders are making. He said, hearing the Isles also made a big change on the broadcast side. Longtime radio voices Chris King and Greg Picker were let go. Team may not have a radio broadcast going forward. Well, no two people more devoted to the team than Kinger and Greg. That's what he said.
I'm sure they're going to do some sort of simulcast where they'll just take the TV and they'll put it on the radio. I mean, which is a bad idea because the way you broadcast a game for TV is way different than radio.
But those two guys are awesome too. Like, Chris King has been the Islanders radio voice since I was born, I feel like. And Greg Picker, I've gotten to know pretty well too. So I feel bad for those guys that they were let go as well. Like, they do a great job, in their gig. So that sucks. But yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of changes for the Islanders coming. And listen, if you are someone, or if you're a team or a GM looking for a job, I feel like the job on Long Island is definitely an attractive one. The Islanders need a rebranding as much as anyone in the NHL, and if you can be the guy to do that, I think that's a great gig to get.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's there's only 32 of them, right? So, and I will say this: the Islanders ownership seems like they're a patient group, right? Like they're not a group that seems like they make quick, hasty decisions. So, I think that it's not the worst. It's not the worst job to get. What's difficult about it is that you've got a lot of difficult contracts that you're going to have to do some addition by subtraction and find some people to take some contracts that are not very attractive. Although some of them, the lower dollar figure ones that are higher in years, like Pulock and Pelech, 575, 615, but like they have a lot of years left. Those numbers are going to look smaller and smaller as the cap moves along here. So they become a little bit easier to digest, especially if you want to buy them out. So there's definitely work to be done, whoever gets that job. But I think what's going to be really interesting is whoever gets that job, what do they do with Patrick Waugh? Like, is he the guy? Or, he's got Jeremiah, is asking the same question. Do they keep Patrick Waugh? I don't know.
I think they get rid of him.
I think it'll just depend on who gets hired, and then
new GM's coming in. He's probably going to want his coach.
Most likely. But that's not to say that some former player doesn't get hired that maybe has a connection with Patrick Waugh, and they sit down and have a meeting, and maybe they have the same vision. Maybe Patrick Waugh is a guy that they talk to and they interview for the GM job. Like, let's not forget, he's been doing that in the queue for a long time. So. Yeah. Maybe that's the option there and bringing him into that role. So, but I do think it's a good move for the Islanders, and I do think it's time. And again, I want to be respectful to Lou Lamoriello and acknowledge the fact that the guy, look, he created Hockey East, right?
Yeah.
He created the conference.
He also did great things on Long Island. He did.
For sure. He had those teams in conference. Again,
but
it was time. It was time. It was definitely time. I thought he did a good job with some of his trades this year. Career well done. And like I said, if he doesn't want to retire, he can go and he can be an advisor. I'm sure many teams would love to have him as an advisor. What are we laughing at? Something
I'm laughing at New York Marine just because I just went back and rewatched the season preview of Carolina. I'm very unsure of why I thought you were out on them. Huge L by me. Both of you guys were higher on them than rubber. He went back and watched it during our show.
Good for him. Hey, listen, the internet lasts forever. And I appreciate that he went back and listened to that. So that's hey, you want to go back? I think
New York Marine also told me that you had the Jets missing the playoffs, or that was Chef Richard, one of them.
So. Yeah, Chef Richard, but he didn't go back and watch it. Yeah, I really had the Jets missing the playoffs. I don't think I was high on them, but missing the playoffs, I
don't know.
Chef Richard, I want to see the tape on that one, because that is the ultimate fail by me. If I said that and it wasn't a crispy ninja hot take. All right, what are the last couple of series that we really want to get into here?
I want to show. Okay, so this shift changed the entire game last night in Florida, Tampa. I want to show the Florida Panthers' third goal, because not only was it the perfect playoff goal, but John Cooper and the Tampa Bay Lightning actually challenged this goal for goalie interference.
Yeah, it was a bad
challenge. Was horrible in my opinion. We were texting live saying this is a goal. Like, there's no way this comes back. And then Florida scores in the ensuing power play. But just watch this shift. Florida is all over Tampa on this forecheck. The defensemen don't know what to do with the puck. They just rim it back and forth. Florida picks it up. Marchand gets it on net, and then Nate Schmidt crashes for a rebound goal. That is playoff hockey to a T. That's exactly how you teach a team to play. And to me, that's like, I was like, fuck, how did I sleep on this team? Like, they are so good on the forecheck, and this is why they win, because they smother teams. This is smothering hockey right here.
Yeah. Listen, Bennett and Marchand on the ice together, forget about it. It's a dangerous duo. And I got to tell you, Florida played in the dirty areas last night, and you look at some of the goals. How about the first goal? Bennett knocks the puck out of midair, but early in the game, Ryan McDonough has a bit of an errant pinch. And I think, I wrote this down in my notes here as I was watching, and then Eric Chernak doesn't rotate over to the wall and make the defensive play.
Well, he got crunched too. He was playing that game hurt.
which gives, Florida that opportunity to make that little alley-oop or lob play into Bennett, which he made look so easy and so routine. But when your two best defensive defensemen are having issues like that early in a hockey game, that doesn't bode well for your team being ready to play. And Tampa just didn't look ready. Like, they really just didn't look ready. And I know they get the goal back early with Gensel on that power play. There's another goal off of a faceoff, by the way. I feel like faceoffs have come into play more this year in the playoffs than we've seen in previous years. I had the Gensel goal that happened off of faceoff. I had the Reinhart goal. The shot
Reinhart goal was
Kulikov. That starts with an offensive. That starts with an offensive zone faceoff. They get to their spread, right? And then they start, moving the puck around, which leads to that tip play for Reinhart. And then how about it was the shorthanded goal for Martinook in the other game. That was off a defensive zone faceoff where Orlov wins that stick battle against Jersey and then makes that little sauce play out into space to Martinook and scores that goal. So a lot of goals again last night that came directly off of faceoffs. It almost seems like faceoffs and special teams have been the belle of the ball, I'll say, in the first couple of days of the playoffs. Like, if you really go back and you look at where all the goals and all the big moments are coming from, you can kind of question, or you can kind of circle those two areas of the game.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for Vic, I don't know if you can find it, but I'm trying to find Andrei Vasilevsky's record in games after a loss in the playoffs. I know that was a big stat of his in like the 2020 to 2023 years. Obviously not as good the last 2 years because they lost in the first round, but I'm pretty sure Vasilevsky's always been known to bounce back, after a game like that. I mean, the look on his face after Tkachuk scored his second goal, the one where Tkachuk kind of just like threw it at the net after there was a little scrum in front, like he was just like, what the hell is going on? Tampa just came out and looked shocked.
Yeah.
So,
on home ice.
Yeah.
They just if I would have had a list of things that I thought could go wrong for Tampa, them not being ready to play and just really basically not showing up, not playing direct, turning pucks over, it would have been very far down my list of things that I thought would have gone wrong. And then again, you just can't overlook what getting Tkachuk back does. I mean, he scores 2 power play goals. That first goal, he gets left all alone in front, but he still makes a sweet move that, little double deke or whatever to open him up. The other one is just a Tkachuk type of find the puck around the net and be direct and go right towards the net off of a Barkov play that you love when he just drops his shoulder and drives into the crease. But Florida looked like the defending Stanley Cup champs last night. They really did. And they're going to need way more from Braden Point. They're going to need way more. Nikita Kucherov was a passenger last night. I know he has an assist on that goal, on the one-timer, but he was a passenger. And you're not going to win if he's a passenger. You're just not going to win.
Yeah, I don't know. Vic just texted me and said, this is from 2022, so this is not even really relevant, but Andrei Vasilevsky following a playoff loss in the last 2 seasons, 9.66 save percentage, 14-0, 5 shutouts. But that was 2022. So that's
we also, look, the Panthers have had Tampa's number the last, it was Tampa had the Florida's number the first couple of years. Now it looks the other way around. A lot of people picked Tampa to get to the finals. I did, right? Do I feel great about that today? No, I don't feel great about it. Am I panicking on it? No, I'm not panicking either, but I certainly don't feel good about it. Like, this feels like the second year in a row for me that I probably didn't give the Florida Panthers enough credit going into the playoffs. I didn't like how they played down the stretch, although they were missing important guys. They were resting guys. They were kind of on cruise control. And they look like a team that knows how to say, all right, it's playoffs. Let's flip that switch and let's get to that direct style of hockey that has made us successful here over the last couple of years. And then again,
I've seen it a couple of times in the chat too. Everyone's saying Sam Static this time. The hit tally was 48-26 in favor of the Panthers.
Yeah. I hope the series does go 7 and get close, though. Whatever happens. But I'd like to see 7 games of the series. I
think we'll see a response from Tampa tomorrow night.
Yeah, you'd have to think so.
Yeah.
You'd absolutely have to think so. And look, things are going well when Nate Schmidt gets 2 goals and he had 5 all year. And I just love New York Marine today, by the way, in the chat. He went back, he found the central preview, and I said, I think they're still a playoff team about Winnipeg. So Chef Richard,
probably a playoff team.
I didn't have them out of the playoffs, but I certainly was not as high on them as I should have been, and how good that they've looked. And Jonny is still riding the St. Louis Blues train in the first round. That was his big upset. So at least I came to my senses at some point, Chef Richard. I take my medicine on that, and I'm definitely feeling really good about that team, and I think that Winnipeg is going to run through this series and probably win it in 5. So we'll hit on Minnesota Vegas quick. Look, neither of us saw this whole game.
We kind of talked about it. I mean, I just saw the first 2 periods, but
we talked about the Shea Theodore night. I mean, he just seemed to be around it on the wrong end of it all game. And Bruce Cassidy still has him out there with the empty net, as he should. It's Shea Theodore. You're gonna win or die with your best players, right? Like, win or go home. You're still gonna roll your top guys out there. I fell asleep like 12, 13 minutes into the first period. How about some of the saves early in that game by
Aiden
Hill?
Yeah, I tweeted that one Hill maybe worth staying up for, and then Minnesota scores fucking 3.
Yeah, but that sequence early in the game, I mean, that could have been like a 4 or 5-0 first period if he doesn't come up with some of those saves.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Didn't you call it yesterday and say you had the most confidence that Minnesota would win last night of all the dogs?
All the road teams.
Yeah, you did call that last night. So kudos to you for being on that, which is so different than normal when it comes to the Minnesota Wild. You're normally the polar opposite.
Well, they played really well, I thought, in game 1. Like, that's why I'm confident in St. Louis. Like, I still think they're playing really good hockey. Just because they're down 0-2 doesn't mean I hate the way they're playing.
Can we give some love to John Hines?
Yeah,
I mean, he makes some tweaks to his lines, really to his centers. He moves Freddie Gaudreau up the lineup, and he moves Rossi down the lineup because he said that Trennan and Brazeau had a number of opportunities in that game, and he wanted to give them a little bit more scoring. But he also said Marco Rossi's got to play better.
Trennan's
a contract here for him.
Trennan is a beast, by the way. That guy is a brick shithouse. I didn't think Boyan played that well last night, really, either, though.
Well, I can't. Like I said, I see a stat line, but I watched 14 minutes of the hockey game, so I'm not going to comment on whether I thought he played well or not. Listen,
fair enough. I will say Brock Faber is Brock Faber. He's one of the best defensemen. I think
he's a number one. He's a number one. He's a number one defenseman. Like, he's a true bona fide number one, right? Not every team has a true bona fide number one. He is a number one defenseman. You see it day in and day out. The guy is legit. He's a better NHLer than he was a college player, which is great. And listen, don't ever expect him to have 80 points, 70 points. He is a true number one defenseman that you can build a decor around. Like, you can have a high risk offensive guy that's not a true number one either playing with him, and that guy's going to get his points, and Faber's going to bail him out and defend. So I just love, I love Brock Faber. I mean, I still can't believe in a national championship game he didn't start overtime. Neither did Nyes, by the way. Neither did Snuggeroo. None of those guys were on the ice for the opening shift of overtime in the national championship game. Like, wow. How do you have those 3 players and not have them on the ice to start overtime in a national championship game if you're Minnesota? It cost you a national championship.
You see what Vic said?
No, I didn't see what he said.
So funny.
William Bogosian. Okay. Okay. We'll leave that off the air. Sorry, Big Willie Styles. I don't mean to do that, but it's just crazy, man. Big Willie Styles said in the chat, way to bring back bad memories. Big Willie is a Minnesota Golden Gophers fan, and I could see why that would be bad memories, because that that was not okay to do that in a national championship game with how good those guys are. So
and just for me to address Tommy T, like, because he's giving me shit for betting Vegas last night. Like, I was confident Vegas was going to win, but I said if there's one underdog team or one away team that I was worried about, it was the Wild. Like, I could have said the Panthers, I could have said the Devils, could have said the Senators. I said the Wild. It's like I'm flipping sides. I still think Vegas is going to win that series.
Yeah. So, what do we got for games tonight?
Only three. Only three tonight.
3 tonight. I'm okay with that, by the way.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot the last night.
3 is a very digestible number where, like, you can really watch them. And the spreads are great. Well, the 9:30 and 10 o'clock thing. I mean, listen, I didn't mind the 6 p.m. game last night because,
I liked it.
I have a TV that I can see from my kitchen. And so while I was getting dinner ready and getting all the food I was going to grill last night ready, I was able to watch that game. And then we ate at the countertops last night so we could just keep peeking at the TV and watch the game. I loved the 6 p.m. game. I wish we would do 6 p.m. like 7:30 p.m. and then like 9 p.m. instead of having these 10 p.m. starts. I get it. Like, you have to cater to the local audience. I'm just me. I don't like staying up this late. But I am gonna stay up.
11 o'clock. Man.
I'm gonna want to watch Edmonton, LA. Like, I'm dying to see how Edmonton responds in this game. Like, do we see third period Edmonton? Do we see last minute of the game Edmonton? Man, it's hard for me to, even if Edmonton wins tonight, it's just hard for me to have confidence that there's going to be enough consistency for Edmonton, to get that win, to win that series. It's hard, but Connor McDavid looks like he'll get 5 points, and then LA will score 6.
It's kind of like Kaprizov right now in the Wild. Like, one guy can really just boost the team. Like, him and Boldy in the first.
When I saw a comment that said the Wild are nothing without Kaprizov, I think Sam said that in the chat. And my response to you, Sam, would be, yeah, but Kaprizov plays for the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about here?
But that's what I said before. I was like, in the series, if Vegas can shut him down, this series will last 5 games. But they can't shut him down. So that's what's happening.
Yeah, so, Tommy T says, Colby and I both enjoy the steady dose so you can concentrate on the games. Yeah, like I don't know why my brain is like that, but like I really can't concentrate on 2 games.
Well, it's not easy. Like, it's hard for me. I usually have one game with the sound on that I'm really focusing on, and like let's say the game on the main TV is in the second period, I'll have the game in the first period on the side TV with no sound on. Like, I'm just kind of like glancing over. But whatever game is later in the game, if it's closer, like that's usually the one that goes on the main TV.
Yeah, I feel like you've got to be able to see the start of a game to get a feel for it. Yeah. And when you're at the end of another period, you can't see the first. Like, I missed the first couple of minutes of the Leafs game last night because I was, watching the end of the game before, and it just doesn't get me engaged into the game. Like, I like hearing the announcers like talk about who's in the lineup, who's not in the lineup. Like, it just kind of gets you dialed in. To that game. And Tommy is hitting me with some stats here that I think are pretty relevant. We talked about Draisaitl not being able to back check at the end of the game. Knoblauch played Draisaitl 5:21 of the last 6 minutes and 13 seconds.
Well, they had their goalie pulled. They were down 2 with
like 4 minutes. No, I know, but like listen, again, and that's why even more 97's got to get that.
That's not on Knoblauch though. They're down 2 goals with their goalie pulled. You have to have your best players out there.
You're living and dying by your best players. But that's the risk that you run though. It's not on
Knoblauch though. That's a crazy thing to say.
I mean, I'm not going to completely absolve him of that. I'm not going to completely absolve him of that. Like, you got to manage minutes.
Down 2.
I understand that, but you still got to be able to manage a guy's minutes so he can make a play at the end of the game. Like, I'm not saying
you got to be able to get to overtime so the guys can rest in intermission.
I'm not saying that it's completely on him because you have those types of players. You have to play them, but you do have your job as a coach is to manage a player's minutes for good, for bad, or for indifferent. 5.5 or 5:15 of the last 6:15, you're not going to have any legs to defend.
I think you expect Connor McDavid to make a better play there. It's the best player.
100%. Yeah, 100%. We said that.
I wouldn't say it's a coaching I wouldn't say it's on the coaching.
I think it's joint. I think there's joint effort. So let's see what happens in that game tonight. Like, both teams need better goaltending. Like, that goes without saying, right? Both of those teams need better goaltending tonight. So we'll see who gets it. And so what are your expectations in the other games, Johnny? Like, are you expecting Colorado to come out at home? I think Landeskog plays.
That's tonight. What I was going to ask you.
I disagree. Like, I think Frank, I didn't agree with a lot of what he had to say yesterday in regards to that. I think we're going to see Landeskog tonight. I think getting him through game day, getting him through warmups, that was the next step. I think you'll see him in the lineup tonight. That's my guess.
Tommy's yelling at me now, though, like saying it was a tie game. I'd still rather have Connor McDavid on the ice than not in a tie game.
Again, you're talking about you're talking about getting to overtime. Like, I don't know. Like, I think when a guy's been on the ice for 5 minutes, you got to get him. You got to manage a guy's minutes. I actually agree with Tommy T here. Like,
tie game late in the third, you wouldn't have McDavid out there.
You would have McDavid out there, but like, you got to do something earlier, okay, to get those guys off the ice. 5 of the last 6 minutes doesn't work. That's what it leads to. And also, when you're in a tie game and you're sitting there saying you're just trying to get to overtime, is Connor McDavid one of your best defensive players? Probably not.
He's your best offensive player, so he can have the puck.
I get that, but you in one breath said you're just trying to get to overtime. Which one is it?
I still think, like, getting to overtime, having McDavid on the ice isn't a liability.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a liability, but it's a liability when you've played 5 of the last 6 minutes.
Yeah,
it's a liability.
I'll take the L on that.
Yeah,
when you play the last 5 or 6.
I'm not saying you have to take an L on it. I just think that there's shared responsibility from the coaches to make sure you manage guys' minutes down the stretch.
Fair enough. But I'm just saying, if you're looking at, oh my God, this guy played 5 of the last 6 minutes when they're down 2 goals, I'm like, yeah, that makes fucking sense.
Until it doesn't, and you give up a game winner with when it did, right? Yeah. If we're not even talking about this if they don't give up the goal, of course.
Yeah.
So hey, cause and effect, right? Like, that's reality. Enough. So
Tommy, I'll give you the win on this one.
So we think we'll see Landeskog tonight.
Yeah.
I think
bigger question, which I think Vic just said, actually.
Heiskanen, right? Yeah. Listen, I mean, everything changes with Miro Heiskanen. You get your number 1 defenseman. I mean, like, are the Colorado Avalanche with it's like not having Cale Makar. I mean, he's not as good as Cale Makar, but he's pretty fucking good. Like, the guy's pretty good, Miro Heiskanen. So I think Colorado wins tonight.
I do too.
I think LA wins tonight.
I do too.
I think Washington wins.
I do too. If there's one, I want to say the same thing I said yesterday. If there's one road team that can pull it off tonight, who is it? But I don't know. I think Edmonton could be the team to win tonight.
Okay.
I think they could. If I'm picking one road team, I think it could be Edmonton. Colorado at home. Colorado at home, I have all the confidence in the world in, even though that's a more even matchup, probably. Montreal interests me. I think Washington will be a little bit more dialed this time around. Like, they kind of let their foot off the gas in that third period against Montreal and maybe, underestimated them a little bit. But LA, Edmonton, because Edmonton's power play, I think that's the difference, right? So
they were 0 for 2 in game 1.
That's the difference.
And LA had 2 power play goals in that game.
Yeah. I think that could be the difference tonight.
Okay. So we'll see. We shall see what happens. I saw somebody ask who's going to play goal for the Blues in game 3. I mean, come on. You're not
Binnington.
You're not moving away from Binnington. There's
Marco Larrabee just said Alexei Protas is wearing his regular jersey this morning in practice. That'd be a big addition for the Capitals as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He obviously has been big time in the top 6 this year for them, and the size and the strength that he plays with. I mean, he's a big man. And New York Marine asked, what did I grill for dinner last night? I made he hit me with that in the chat. I made fillets for my wife and my daughter, and I made a veal rib chop for me. When I was at the butcher, they had these big veal rib chops that look so good, and they wanted fillets. So we had a little bit of everything going last night, and I grilled asparagus too. So that's how we eat at the Cohens. We have a grill something and grill a vegetable, and done. Easy.
Just saw this tweet from Connor McGahey, who is a broadcaster.
For Colorado.
For Colorado. He said, in quotes, "There's a good chance Landeskog plays tonight," which was said by Jared Bednar on Altitude SR.
Okay.
So we'll keep our eye open for that.
There you have it.
I'm not seeing anything on Heiskanen, though, on Twitter, just scrolling through looking. So we'll find out, I guess, in a couple hours or so. All right, you want to get into our bet of the night?
Let's get to it.
All right, we talked about some of the games a little bit, but let's get into our Bet365 bet of the night. You want to get in on the action for Stanley Cup playoffs? At Bet365, they've got you. From game props, player props, totals, and the money line, you can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, and the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You must be 19 or older. And tonight's bet of the night, Colby, you and I talked about it. The Edmonton and LA game is the game to watch, and we're going with the over 6 at even money on Edmonton and LA. So I'm not jinxing any sides.
Well, do you see?
Betting. I know. I saw Nate G.
Nate G in the chat said, please bet Colorado. And the reason he's doing that is because he really wants Dallas to win tonight.
So we're not taking any sides. We're taking the over 6 in game 2 between LA and Edmonton. I don't think
there's such a liability with your bets that everybody is every fan in our chat is just dying for you not to bet on their team. Like that's how much of a liability you are with your bets.
Yeah. It's insane. All right, that's it pretty much for today, right? Don't think we have any guests lined up tomorrow. We probably will have Pat on Friday.
Okay.
Pat's dialing into the playoffs. He's going to be doing TNT and NHL Network soon. He told me he might possibly throw his name into some coaching rings. That interests him. So I was talking to him a little bit yesterday. So yeah, that's what the rest of the week looks like. We'll probably, pick a guest just based on how the games go tonight. But yeah, that's all I got, Colby.
All right. Well, you guys know the routine. If you haven't liked this episode yet, make sure you give us a like. I see the subscriptions are just climbing on the Daily Faceoff YouTube page. So let's just keep building that up. As you guys know, the lineup by now with DFO live at noon with Frank and Tyler, the sheet at 3 with Jeff and producer Zach. They are going to have DJ Bean on the sheet at 3:00 tonight. Probably, most well known as a Boston guy, but obviously he has his show, What Chaos, I believe, Johnny,
with
right?
Pete Blackburn, but DJ's a big Oilers guy.
Big Oilers guy now too. I guess he has his team on the left and his team on the right.
Basically.
So. He'll be with Jeff today at 3 p.m. And the other thing I just want to remind everybody is, and I'll tweet it out again, or I'll retweet it. If you haven't signed up for that Johnny Gaudreau virtual 5K yet, to help build that park at the special needs school or donate to it, whatever you can do, give that a look and sign up if you can. Again, it's a virtual 5K. So you can do it on your own time. I am retweeting it right now. Have the opportunity to be on John Stevens' team. It's called Stevens Coaching Challenge. I saw some of you did sign up for that, which I am grateful for. There's also a silent auction with unbelievable jerseys from top players, all over that silent auction, all over the website. So again, get involved in that. It's a great way to honor the Gaudreau's legacy. I think Zach will put it in the chat on their show on the sheet today. The link is also in the show description on YouTube if you need to find it there. But, let's make sure that we don't, we did all this great stuff for Johnny Gaudreau this year and Matty Gaudreau. Like, we got to keep it going, right? Like, this can't be something we celebrate for one season. Like, we have to keep the memory of these two boys going forever, keeping them in our hearts, keeping them a part of all this stuff, and keeping them involved in the game of hockey. So make sure you guys do that if you can. I think John Stevens would be grateful for it. He texted me yesterday after we got a couple of signups from our show. And he mentioned that he saw they were from random places, and he thought that it probably came from our show, and he was greatly appreciated for that. So just keep moving with that kind of stuff, right? Like don't let that get to the back of your mind. Keep it in the front and keep being supportive. So we appreciate the chat today. Love you, New York Marine, for going back and digging up the archives. It was great. The internet lasts forever, always. Jonny, I know you got a big night ahead, so we'll wait to see if we get any news on that tomorrow as you get the big long pause and eye close. Give us a like, give us a subscribe to the YouTube channel. Keep rolling with us. Remember, we will be here on Friday. Okay, we will be with you on Friday. So 2 more shows this week. Lots of hockey here the next couple of days. We hope you all enjoyed today's show. We will see everybody, as always, right back here 9 a.m. tomorrow.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.